to Breaking the Chains Africa. This is Hon.odonga, a lawyer, a political scientist, historian, a researcher. Today I'm going to talk about a very sensitive topic. I'm talking about HIV/AIDS. We all know that AIDS was first discovered in Africa in 1960s. Now, coming to Sub-Saharan Africa. In Sub-Saharan Africa, we have 23.5 million people who are HIV positive. And out of that, 1.2 million have so far died. And we have an annual infection of 1.8 million people acquiring the virus in Africa annually. HIV/AIDS has reduced the life expectancy of an African person to 39 years. And 10% of the population in the African continent are infected with the virus HIV/AIDS. In Africa, the statistics is very alarming in the following countries that have an infection rate of at least 10%. Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. These are the countries that have the highest infections in the continent at a staggering 10%. This is so devastating. Governments have engaged on campaigns. The first campaign was ABC. Abstain, be faithful, or use a condom. Then along the way, African governments changed the campaign to ABC square. Abstain, be faithful, use a condom, get circumcised. Then along the way, the formula changed to ABCQ. Abstain, be faithful, use a condom, get circumcised, and accept Christ. So the question is, why is the prevalence of HIV/AIDS higher in Africa as opposed to Europe? Now, this is what makes the difference between Africa and Europe. It makes you even think that AIDS is made for Africans, but there's something we are getting wrong. One, stigma. The Western world government have successfully managed to fight stigma to unmeasurable levels. African countries and governments and people have failed to fight stigma. So there is a lot of stigma attached to HIV/AIDS and being infected. In Europe, the government has launched a campaign that it has become normal for anyone to tell you that I am HIV positive. Just like in Africa, it is very easy for someone to say, I tested positive for malaria. It's not a big thing because there are fought stigma in the mind of people that people voluntarily declare they are positive. But in Africa, stigma has made HIV/AIDS situation worsen. The second and most interesting observation where African governments have failed is the issue of CD4 level. CD4, in a layman's word, in a layman's language, are the level at which we have concentration of HIV/AIDS in the body per milliliter of blood. Now, in Europe, the government starts, the moment they test and they find CD4 level is at 500, the concentration of the virus is at 500 per a milliliter of blood, they put people on ARVs when the person is still strong and healthy. In Africa, It is the reverse. Many African governments, they have policies that people are put on ARVs when the CD4 count level is at 200 or below. And because of the stigma, people report to health centers late, at times even when the CD4 level is at 80. So there is need for a deliberate campaign. There is a need for African governments to put money aside so that we can change the treatment package and start attending to people when the CD4 level is at 500. This would help people to live for a lifetime with HIV/AIDS. Thirdly, the mentality in the African head. The stigma has caused mentality. So in some African countries, there are men who say that a man learns when he is going to the grave. Others even say, I did not get AIDS from a tree. I got it from human beings. So I should also spread it on human beings. This is a wrong mentality. In my research, something doctors did not tell you, I found out that there are types of HIV/AIDS virus. And listen to this attentively. HIV-1 has the first category of group M. Now, group M has 9 strains of HIV/AIDS. Strain A, strain B, strain C, strain D, strain F, strain G, strain H, strain J, strain K. These are 9 strains under HIV-1 group M. Now, when we come to HIV-1, other than group M, there is group N, there is group O, there is group P. HIV-2, which is majorly in West Africa, has a few strains that more research is still being done on. The challenge in Africa, those who are sick have a wrong mentality that they should spread the virus to the extent that they engage in risky sexual activities without using condoms. Now, for me as a philosopher, I would say there is even more need for someone who is HIV positive to use a condom. Why am I saying this? There is what we call super infection. Super infection is where a person who is HIV positive has got several strains in the body. Because if you are sick and you have one strain, it can be managed. So you can find an individual who is super infected with 12 strains. That's why I'm saying, if you are sick, you got to use a condom. Even if you are not sick, you also have to use a condom. Or be faithful or abstain. Now, if someone has 12 strains, that is super infection. Now, let us make it more practical. We have vehicles in all our countries. They have number plates. Most number plates are 7 digits. Now, let's draw a matrix. 7 digits. KBC13XY. UBA139Z. Now, those 7 digits of a number plate, we can design a matrix and it supplies the number plates for all the vehicles in the country without any repetition. So this shows the kind of matrix we can have of super infection with the 12 strains available. Now, 12 strains on HIV-1 and then 3 strains on HIV-2. So when you have multiple strains, the antiretroviral drugs will not work on you. That is where the philosophy is saying we need to have a campaign. We need to have a campaign for protecting those who are sick so that you have one strain and the strain can be managed for a lifetime. If you decide to go on rampage when you are sick, you are going to bring all the strains on you. What should be done? 1, we need behavioral change and avoid stigmatizing those who are sick. Governments in Africa should launch campaigns against stigma. 2, African governments must review their ARV guidelines. The CD4 cells or helper cells in a body gives indicators at the level of immune system of an individual. Now, World Health Organization needs to be put to order by African governments. World Health Organization recommends that when CD4 cells, the helper cells, are below 500 cells per millimeter cube, anywhere from 550, we should start on drugs. But many African governments are still administering ARVs when the CD4 or helper cells are at 200. This is totally unacceptable. We need to invest more money in putting people on ARV drugs when the CD4 levels are still high. We need to invest money in fighting stigma. That is why in Europe, when the CD4 is 500, the helper cells, that is pretty good, they start drugs. This mentality that you are sick, you are now going to finish people, you are going to finish yourself. The doctors say, if you manage your health well, we can live a lifetime. Why would you be willing to meet your Creator? Why? The kingdom of God begins from here. There is a lot of stigma in purchase of condoms. In many parts of African continent, those who go to shopping malls and supermarkets even have stigma in buying condoms because they think people will know what they're going to do. There is need to campaign against the fear of buying condoms. And some people who are wealthy think that condoms from other parts of the world are better. Now, let me ask you, when you're in those countries and they're making products, they say this is for Europe, this is for Africa. So you're buying things from Europe, you really need to ask yourself that why is the one going to Europe different from the one coming to Africa? So the debate has to begin. So this is areas for critical thinking. The stigma has to be fought. And we see how to combat HIV/AIDS. HIV/AIDS is very dangerous, and humanity has failed to get a cure, to the extent that some people are even saying it is a punishment from God for promiscuity of the human species, to the extent that the sickness went in the garden of humanity. Because that is the only factory where human beings are made. And some people have turned that factory into a business. So man thinks they can be wiser than the Creator. So I think there should be a campaign for behavioral change and avoiding risky sexual behavior. So let's fight stigma and make the African continent a better place to live in. Let's avoid super infection. Let's manage this. There is also need for early testing and early detection. These are my critical thoughts. This is my thinking. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, share, like, and we make the world to be a better place to live in. Thank you so much, and God bless you.